Thank you for watching our video. Please give us a big like, subscribe to our channel for new videos every day with amazing cars. Leave us your opinion in the comment section on the video. Thank you. In its broadest telling, the legend goes something like this: long ago, somewhere in the remotest wilderness of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, a Lancia Stratos, arguably the most dramatic rally car ever conceived, a tiny, impossibly exotic, Ferrari-powered disco wedge from another dimension, was raced, wrecked, stripped and then abandoned in the woods. It's a story that at least one Michigander either grew up hearing in whispers around campfires or invented from whole cloth. I'm not quite sure which. Regardless, the mission is simple. Illustrator Marty Davis and I will go to the UP, spend a weekend beating the bushes at the Lake Superior Performance Rally and find it. The notion isn't entirely fantastic. It's true, for example, that a Stratos competed here at least once. On Halloween night in 1974, Sandro Munari, a Lancia factory driver, nearly put the kibosh for good on Michigan's venerable press-on regardless endurance rally when he disregarded organizers' warnings to keep speeds down when transiting on public roads between stages. Trick-or-treaters in Felch, population 500 give or take, got more of a scare than they'd bargained for when Munari, accustomed to the European practice of granting drivers more or less complete impunity, blasted through town at 130 miles per hour in his red and white spaceship, leaving a trail of scattered candy and imploded jack-o'-lanterns in his wake. Incensed, the local sheriff gave chase, and only intense negotiations kept the entire event, not just the next stage, from getting shut down. The Munari Stratos later fell victim to distributor problems, but its legacy was cemented. There would be no further rallying in Dickinson County. Still, the historical record shows scant evidence of Stratos' presence in the UP beyond that. And it's not exactly the type of thing that, once seen, is likely to be forgotten. We're entering the realms where foggy conjecture meets deliberate obfuscation, where hypotheticals pile upon hypotheticals. I keep hearing the X-Files theme in my head, Mulder and Scully with Fargo accents. Oh sure, the truth is out there, don't you know? Whether we'll find anything close to it is very much open to question. Our first stop is a pre-rally shakedown at Houghton Airport, where my attention is grabbed by a sight even less expected than a Lancia in the woods. There, in the distance, parked near a complex of outbuildings in all its safety yellow glory, sits a fully operational Saab 900 turbo friction tester. No sooner do Marty and I get out to investigate than a pickup makes a beeline for us from a quarter-mile away. "Something I can help you with?" asks the guy in the passenger seat, the edge in his voice cold and hard. We feign innocence and explain our enthusiasm for this rarest of Swedish treasures, which seems to appease him, at least partially. He gestures over our shoulders, toward an area that had registered previously as nothing more than a scrap yard. "You guys wanna take pictures of the car, that's fine. But I can't have you pointing your cameras anywhere over there. Something about sensitive material. There's that X-Files music again. What exactly are they hiding here?" The truck reappears a few minutes later, this time with just the driver, who seems to relish the company. Rick Anderson has been out here at Michigan Tech's winter testing facility, the Queen Research Center. They work with various automakers and defense contractors, hence the touchiness, for 40 years, during which time, no, he's never heard anything about an abandoned Lancia. He's also a pilot, doing aerial photography and search and rescue, too. The UP is deceptive, he explains. You drive through and see houses along the road and little towns every so often, but what's tougher to grasp is the vastness that lies beyond, enormous areas where simply nobody ever goes. The UP encompasses nearly a third of Michigan's land area but has just 3% of its citizens. There's been 5, maybe 6 planes that have gone down out there over the years that we've just never found. Our task just got a little more daunting. On the research center's proving ground, teams have started to set up, prepping their cars for test laps on the handling course, a rutted, dusty dirt and gravel track that takes a couple minutes to get around. Dirtfish, a Washington-based rally driving school, made local headlines when it announced it would bring Finnish rally legend Hannu Mikkola to town. The school also brought a replica of his rack-winning 1978 Ford Escort Mark II. It's Mikkola's first time back in the Upper Peninsula since 1983, when he won Press-On regardless in an Audi Quattro. When he arrives, it is behind the wheel of a rare Audi Sport Quattro he bought new and immediately had fitted with the trailer hitch so he could tow his other Audi to races. Mikkola suits up, takes the Ford out for a few laps, makes a couple suggestions to the Dirtfish crew and heads off, apparently satisfied. Later, we'll each get a ride with Nate Tennis, Dirtfish's lead instructor. The little Ford weighs maybe 1,800 pounds and is good for a claimed 285 horsepower. Numbers lose all meaning once underway, however. Actually, everything you've ever learned about the behavior of physical objects in three-dimensional space loses all meaning once underway. The car is not just fast, what's more surprising, and indeed completely astonishing, is the amount of grip and sheer stopping power Tennis somehow finds when he's not flinging us sideways across a surface that is all loose dirt and marbles. It just does not make sense. After a minute of hooting and hollering into the helmet mic at the ridiculousness of it all, I find myself silenced, not by terror so much as awe and disbelief. Getting out afterward, I tell Tennis that was the most insane thing I have ever experienced in an automobile. He smiles appreciatively, eyes sparkling, like a junkie who's just won a new convert to his addiction. Right? Welcome to Rally. Jimmy Brandt got hooked in 1974, when friends dragged him out to the woods and he caught a glimpse of Munari's Stratos rocketing through the trees. A Traverse City native, which makes him a troll in the local parlance that distinguishes between Yoopers and those who live under the bridge, the mechanic connecting Upper and Lower Michigan. Brandt has been back every year since, either for Press-On or its spiritual successor, LSPR. This year he's co-driving a Subaru WRX, what he calls a belly-button car. Everybody's got one. But when I remark on the surprising diversity of cars over the rally's history, citing, for example, the 1983 entry list that shows, in addition to Mikkola's winning Audi, vehicles ranging from Peugeots to Saabs to Plymouth Arrows and even an X-body Oldsmobile Omega, Brandt says, "Oh yeah, I was there with that car." GM's first stab at a front-wheel drive compact. The car's rear wheel bearings hadn't been engineered to withstand much side loading, a weakness Brandt's team uncovered in short order. "We went through a lot of wheel bearings," he says. It seems obvious that if anyone would have some insight into the legend of the lost Lancia, it'd be Jimmy Brandt, but he scratches his beard in consternation when I ask about it. "Can't say that I've ever heard anything about that one, no." Another dead end. It might not be looking good for our Stratos, but Auto Week's Jimmy Pinazzari is all smiles. We're at Park Expos, a sort of pre-Ross exhibition where the cars gather for public perusal and from which they'll leave for the day's first stage. Pinazzari is here with his just-completed Subaru 2.5 RS, a project he's been working on for months, and he's excited for the car's debut. What's not obvious about rally cars is that while they're legitimate race cars, with the full complement of cages and harnesses that requires, they're also street legal. They have to be in order to transit between stages. Every last one of these cars has a license plate on the back, and scrutineering requires demonstrating everything from turn signals to windshield washers are fully functional. But that was the whole thing that made cars like the Ferrari 250 GT so cool, right? Who doesn't pine for that lost, better time when a gentleman racer could drive to the track, compete and drive home again afterward? It can be a pain, Pinazzari says. You get your car back together only to find out now your horn doesn't work. Those racers of yore found themselves making a few other adjustments to modernity at LSPR, chief among them the welcome addition of ladies to their gentleman ranks. Indeed, at every level, from drivers and mechanics to marshals and spectators, this will be far and away the most gender-integrated motorsports event I've ever attended. Earlier this morning, While working on a sketch at breakfast, Marty overhears some racers going over notes at the next table and assumed from the speaker's authoritative tone and unchallenged expertise that she was an experienced pro who'd been brought in as a ringer. When he looks up, his gaze is met by 20-year-old Camille Carlson, a student at nearby Michigan Tech. She's here with the 1992 Mitsubishi Eclipse and has been co-driving with her dad, Eric, since she was 16. She's looking forward to taking over the driving after she graduates. Family is a recurring theme here, both in the cars and out of them, as we discover when we arrive at Stage 3, Spectator Point A2, where multiple generations are staked out. I'd always been a little perplexed by the idea of attending a rally in person, to be honest. Plenty of road racing courses afford a limited view of the action, but at least you're seeing the cars lap after lap. How much enjoyment is there in watching a car go by just once? A few points for anyone who might share such concerns. It's free. You're out in the woods. There's no line for the bathroom, see previous. Once a minute for 53 minutes, a car careens past you, spitting a giant rooster tail of dirt. There's beer. Basically, it's everything cool about hunting, minus the killing, plus race cars. Did I mention it's free? It gets even better at night, a moonless sky, an infinity of stars, everybody louder and funnier from drinking all afternoon, and the cars are now a blinding, hallucinatory blur, LED light bars cutting an arc through the mist from 150 vape pens, unmuffled exhausts echoing in the dark as the forest slowly returns to its primeval stillness and we await the next disturbance. The next morning we're sitting at a gas station trying to puzzle out which stage to head to, when a great thing happens. Makola passes by in the little blue Eaton Yale Ford. We pull out and tuck in behind him, and for the next 20 minutes, we're treated to the sight of the World Rally Champion piloting his old steed along gloriously golden autumnal roads. Pavement gives way to gravel and sunlight glints off flared fenders as our personal escort leads us directly to the starting line, where all is set for Makola to kick off the stage with an exhibition run. But we have time to kill before that happens, and the Flying Finn is happy to regale us with stories of the 1970 World Cup Rally, a 5-week ordeal taking participants from London to Mexico City by way of Yugoslavia and Brazil. He doesn't mention he won, and at times, plural, he caught malaria. At a dinner in his honor a couple nights earlier, he seemed gracious but diffident. It was hard to say how glad he was to be there. Out here in the woods, though, he couldn't be enjoying himself more. He launches the car with a controlled fury that shames half the field. The one thing we don't ask him about is a missing Lancia Stratos. I don't know if it's just fatigue or a particular type of fatigues that accompanies the growing suspicion you've been sent on a wild goose chase, making an ass of yourself asking smart people dumb questions for days on end. But at weekend's close, we're no nearer to uncovering the truth about the missing Lancia than when we got here. Or are we? Two things, quickly. DJ, cue that X-Files drop. First, there's Andrew Chang, whose daughter Keena Erickson Chang is driving the number 72 Ford Fiesta. He overhears me telling the Stratos story before the final street stage in downtown Houghton. "Are you guys talking about the old parts in the woods?" he asks. I shoot him a look. "I was just talking to these guys earlier today," he explains, "who said they'd found all these old car parts out in the middle of nowhere." I leave him my number. Later, we join a group of vintage rally enthusiasts who have brought their cars, a Nur Quattro, another old Escort, a sweet Rally Spec 911 and a Lancia Delta Integral, out for the weekend. Tim Maskus is a sheriff's deputy in nearby Newbury who restores old Audis in his spare time. The Quattro is his, and has been on board since witnessing Makola's poor win 34 years ago. He's already thoroughly debunked any notion of a stray Stratos, but now, in this festive atmosphere, drinks flowing, bass pumping, he leans in conspiratorially. "You know," he teases, "if that Lancia was up here somewhere, I would have it. And if I had it, I wouldn't tell you." Thank you for watching our video. Please give us a big like, subscribe to our channel for new videos every day with amazing cars. Leave us your opinion in the comment section on the video. Thank you.